I'm pretty relaxed about climate change. The man who first put his finger on the phenomenon lived in Sweden, and he thought that if it was a couple of degrees warmer, that would be a good thing. And I think he was probably right. I think it's an open question as to what the optimal level of CO2 would be in the earth. If you were to design the earth from scratch, how much CO2 would you put in there? You know, it's a plant food. And in fact, at levels that we went down to in the last ice age, we were in danger of starving the plants on this planet. So a bit more CO2 is a good idea. When they grow plants in hothouses, they amp it up to about 800 parts per million or even higher because it makes it grow faster. People worry about higher temperatures making some parts of the earth uninhabitable. They might not have noticed, but there's a whole continent that's uninhabitable at the moment because it's too bloody cold, and that's Antarctica. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses in all of this, and I think that issue is not settled. However, a lot of people in this room and a lot of people around the world and a lot of the people who make decisions have decided that we have an urgent problem, that if we don't deal with it in the next 10 years, we're all going to fry. I think the geological record actually contradicts that. If you go back over time, you'll find that CO2 has been up to 4,000 parts per million. That's 10 times where it is at the moment. And it's actually been colder at the time. You'll find in the last 10,000 years, it was warmer at the beginning of the Holocene than it is now. So, you know, we've dealt with higher temperatures. We've dealt with higher concentrations of CO2. The Great Barrier Reef's managed to thrive through the whole lot of it. So I don't think it's an urgent issue, but if enough of my fellow human beings think it's an urgent issue, then it's one that I have to accept that point of view, and then I've got to start looking at, so what are the least risk, the least costly ways of dealing with this fear that other people have. So we're going to electrify the economy. A lot of people don't realise that that doesn't just mean replacing every power plant we've got at the moment. It means multiplying them by 3 and replacing them. Because you're not just going to replace the electricity that comes into your house, you've got to electrify the transport sector. There's a whole lot of industrial processes. So the estimate is somewhere around 2.5, 3 times the amount of electricity production. It takes a long time to build things. You have to find the resources. If you're living in a world where 8 billion people are trying to do the same thing at the same time, there'll be a shortage of resources. You've probably been reading about the increase in the price of lumber, timber at the moment, difficulties in getting your house renovated or a new house built, because everyone, not just here, but around the world, are trying to do the same things at the same time. So there's some significant bottlenecks out there if you try and electrify everything just at the same time that everyone is and doing it in a hurry. Fortunately, I think we've got hundreds of years to worry about this. We also, when you're looking at electrification, we're not putting ideal forms of power generation in. We're putting these intermittent, unreliable renewables. Now, that has flow-on problems. One of it is that actually the most expensive part of your power bill is the network charges. It's not actually the production of the electricity. And to deal with these forms of generation, you need much more extensive networks. They need to be carrying the electricity in both directions. You also need to have storage of some sort. And once you get past 25, 30% of this form of electricity production in the network, then without the storage, then you start getting some real issues in terms of being able to provide electricity. There's also a cost issue. There's a direct straight line relationship between civilization and how much power we use. You'll see it all over the world. When people get richer, they burn more coal, oil, use more electricity, etc.